Hello and welcome to Bus Talk. Here we talk about business analysis from different perspectives and how to continuously evolve in the profession while keeping yourself sane. Your hosts are Sophie
And Anna.
And today we would like to talk on a bit of a controversial topic, zones of responsibilities of business analysts on the project. You can read about tasks that business analyst performs in the BA book or other reputable sources, but when it comes to the real life projects, those tasks that are expected from business analysts can differ slightly or even a lot depending on the project. And we would like to discuss our experience where we encountered some controversial situations and what we think on those topics. So we prepared 3 questions. What those will be, Anna?
So I prepared 3 questions that Sophie do not know yet.
Yes.
Really? So, the first question will be whether business analysts should care about estimates, but not just business analyst tasks estimates, but the estimates of development team. The second question will be who should lead sprint review session, whether it should be business analyst or someone else. And the last question will be who should lead and what is the role of BA in user acceptance testing. So let's start with the first one. Sophie, what do you think about development task estimates?
Well, I would say that if we talk just about tasks estimation, that's definitely not a BA responsibility. So from my experience, BA participates in the estimation sessions, either as a participant or sometimes as a leader of the session, but solely for the purpose of assisting the team in understanding what is being estimated. So understanding the essence of the task, answering some questions that teams might have, but VA does not have enough expertise, I would say, to know if the estimation if the estimates are correct or not. So it should be someone on more of a technical side who would lead the session. In my experience, usually it was a tech lead or product owner, if that's a technical product owner. Sometimes it can be a scrum master. So it depends on the project, but I would say that business analyst, participant, but not a leader and not a responsible person of this session. What is your experience?
Okay, so I will think about this topic about maybe from more holistic perspective. So if we start already speak about the session itself, I would think that it's, as you said, it depends on the project and the skills of the business analyst and the skills of the team who will gonna lead this. In my life, I would say 80% of the estimation session was led by me, but it does not mean that I do not include the technical people to elaborate on the tasks, because they might do this better, but I'm usually giving the perspective from the business side, and the technical people, tech leads, architects give perspective from technical side, so that helps the rest of the development team provide more accurate estimates. So this kind of a hybrid model. On the other hand, I think that BA should care about estimation from a bit different perspective, not just about this particular number for this particular task, but as a whole, as a process. So business analyst is someone who will help either product owner or project manager to establish the process and tries to help to explain to the team how to estimate story points, prepare stories, some example of stories that will equals 1 story points and the one that will equal 13 story points. And so the team can compare and understand how to estimate in the future. And also business analysts will need those data in order to be more prepared for the next sprint. So the business analyst needs to know the capacity, at least this thing give gives him or her kind of sense what to anticipate. Like, even though we do not, as business analysts, might be super technical, after a couple of sessions, we gain the perspective, like how much work we need to produce for the next sprint, and like how many tasks we need to have in the backlog to be on the safe side. So we have always something for the development team to work on. So that's my perspective.
I agree with you. We definitely care about the outcome of the session. So we care about the velocity. As
Yes.
you mentioned, we need to know how much to prepare, how much work to prepare for the upcoming iterations. But just, I cannot fully, for example, understand why would not project manager or scrum master, if they are available on the project, lead this session. Because I, as a business analyst, I care more about the grooming session or refinement session. There are different names for this one, where I prepared the work for the team. I presented it. I made sure, team understands what needs to be done. But then the estimation session is more of a technical, in my mind, it should be quick and easy session where team already actually knows what they're estimating, and it's a matter of putting the numbers. So I would, if there is a project manager or scrum master in the team, I would think it should be them who will lead this session.
Okay, and I see the point where we are disagree, because for me the session is usually goes hand in hand with backlog refinement session, and where we are actually discussing the items and we do estimation, like we are doing both. Like,
all right, so we should have set the terms.
Yes, like, well, my bad. Okay, but let's move on. I think let's move on to the next topic, and the next topic will be who should lead sprint review session. So sprint review session, it's a ceremony from Scrum, so you may also hear review session called often as demo session. So what is your take on that, Sophie?
In my experience, I've been on different projects where different approach was taken to the sprint review sessions. So one approach is where business analyst or product owner leads the session. Another one where someone from the technical side, team lead or developer leads the session. And the third option is QA leads the session. And to be honest, in each of those cases, it made sense because it was the specific of the project that required either more technical person or more business oriented person. When thinking who should lead the session, I think team should consider who we present to, right? So is our client like, how does he like to consume the information? Is it more important to explain in more of a business language, or is it important for them to know low-level technical details? And that depends on who will be presenting. But what I found the most efficient and the approach I always try to push for is hybrid model, where business analyst or product owner starts the session. So they explain the business side of the things, what was achieved, what benefits the user can get from the developer functionality, and then someone from the development team or QA team picks up and shows those, lower level details, how it was done and how the system functions. So yeah, that's my approach, and that's how I would think is like the ideal demo session should look.
Yeah, I would agree to the point that the demo session is, or sorry, let's speak Scrum, sprint review session should be led by a kind of a hybrid model where you have either like BA or product owner who will describe it. So I would agree here. Like, I agree here that the technical part should be covered better by the technical people, by architect or by development lead, and the business side covered by business analyst or product owner. So that's totally fine. However, I would think a bit more, maybe I would even a bit split actually the review session, sprint review session, and the demo. Because like when I'm thinking about review session, it's meant generally to give the clients an update where we are, like create a transparency. where we are, what we developed, and sometimes it goes quite in details, like what is there. On the other side, we have a demo session where we can also have quite a lot describe what we did, and we also build it to create a transparency. But there we can put more focus on the value, like value and what we achieve by doing those things, not going into technical details at all. Like, and another thing, so like I'm just separating those two things
So
in my
those
mind.
two are separate events, like sprint,
Like,
review, and demo?
like I'm not talking that it's on one project, like the same session.
Okay.
So it's just right now my imagination, like how I would put those things, because sprint review is something that you need to do because you need to create the transparency with the client. And on the other hand, the demo can be demo for one particular functionality or some business objectives and what we deliver within the sprint or not within the sprint, like at any point of time. So demo can be actually at any point of time based on what we did. While sprint review, it's like something that we are having each 2 weeks or like every time we ended up the sprint.
I think that's just the play of terminology, probably.
Yes, it is. But like I would think like basically this gives a bit more flexibility, and as long as like we are living in an environment that constantly changing right now, the things can be separated. Like that's the idea that came to my mind just right now while we are recording this video. So that's something like I may dive deep a bit later on, maybe write some article or consider other options to share.
That's interesting. Fine.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on with user acceptance testing. So again, like this is also quite depends on the terminology and understanding. So before we do the discussion, I would like specify two perspectives. So user acceptance testing, the one that happens after the project is released, like just to get a feedback how well we did, what should be improved, and so on. And the other type of user acceptance testing, when those session is actually counts before we do the release. So if users do not accept something, we do not put it into the release. And in this case, users can be either end users or also business users, which will depend on the project and the product that we are developing. So, Sophie?
Okay, so my experience with the user acceptance testing, unfortunately, I didn't have the luxury of having the direct access to the end users of the product. Because I think that's the reality of outsource mainly. I haven't worked in the product company yet, so I usually I had some people in between me and end users. Those usually were representatives from the customer side. But the user acceptance testing, at least let's talk about my recent experience. It happens on a regular basis. So when we develop some functionality, there is always a time in the sprint. It also happens every 2 weeks where there is this UAT sessions, and we prepare scenarios for those sessions based on the functionality being developed, and we present to the users either working prototype, clickable prototype, or already developed functionality, depends on like what we currently have in hand, and we prepare scenarios that we ask users to go through, and then we collect feedback. How was this experience? Did they achieve some goal? Did they have any problems while going through that scenario? Did they notice something that can be done differently or more conveniently? So we gather all that feedback, and then we process the feedback. It doesn't mean that everything that was said or collected during that session will necessarily go into the product, but sometimes we get really good insights from the end users, and we schedule them into next iterations. So we include them into the backlog, and that's how we make sure that the users will accept our product when it's released. That's my experience with the user acceptance testing. Of course, I would like to be able to be more involved in this process, but with the current situation, that's the closest access I've ever had. What about you?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think maybe I have a bit of a better situation because for me, there is two groups of end users. The one group of end users, it's actually business people, and they work within the company, so I could easily have their opinion whenever I want to. I will be moving a bit to the process a bit later on. And another point is when we have some end users that are end users, who will use this product from another perspective, from another angle when it's released. So on my projects, I do care about the feedback from first user group a lot. And I do usually work on user test scenarios, prepare them, share them with clients' user group. And then afterwards, we have this session, like you call it, UAT session, where we discuss the outcome of this testing. And I'm, as a business analyst, basically, I will be the person who will review all of the things and consider what is actually will go into the next sprints as a bugs, or it will be change request, or it can be some other issues that we face, or it's something that is not even relevant because our users do not know how to use the functionality, and that will give me a hint that I need to improve maybe our user scenarios. So this is something where I see that the most critical thing, as also you said, that in the end, we will be those people who will understand what functionality goes where, and if we are doing good or not, and whether we have some change request or we are having issues in what we develop because, I don't know, requirements were not clear enough, and so on, or other things. So I would see UAT session for us as a tool where we can also measure how good our process is, and how good we specify requirements, and how good the collaboration is. So I would see this as a global tool, not just the acceptance itself.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I also would like to add that, at least in my situation, we collaborate with UX team a lot in the user acceptance process because, it has to do with the interface in my case. And that's where UX team is heavily involved. And if they see that something from the business perspective, there is a functionality that will satisfy the user, but it may be not as convenient as user would like to have it. So that's where they get involved, and they might reimagine, some UX flows, and we will enhance that in the product as well.
Yes, totally. Also, here, I could add to that. Sometimes it's really important to work here with QA lead, or someone from QA team who can support you as well, because I don't know, in my process on the project, we do not pass anything to the user testing before it passes QA gateway. So
of course,
first it will be QAs, and then we, with QAs, we also reviewing what we already know, and we know when it should be fixed, or we need to talk with those end user group if it should ever actually be fixed, or it should be like that. So there is a lot of cases, but it's really important that you mentioned that you need also to collaborate with UX and QA, sometimes with architect or dev lead. Depends on the project. So yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, here, I think we agreed here, right? That was the only one.
No. I think that we agreed to almost everything to a point.
To a point, yeah.
Yes, to a point. So, guys, if you agree or not agree with some of our statements, so please let us know in the comments so we know your opinion, like your experience. It will be really helpful. And remember that it's always nice to have different perspective on the things, on the activities, because we are working all in different environments, and the context is really important. So what we tell today, it's based on some our context that we do not describe in detail, maybe. So please take it into account, like that. It depends on the context that you are having on your project, on your activities, and it depends.
Yeah, that's the favorite phrase of every business analyst. It depends. You can start with it every answer to every question, and you will be right.
Yeah, because that's true, and that's quite important to remember each time, that we need to know the context before we start moving into the solution. So, as one of, I would say, the greatest BA I work with, and I know that there is also people like to say the phrase that we need to think about the problem, not about the solution. So for me, it's we need to think about also the context of the problem, and then about the solution.
Nice
So
one.
I think that's it. Do you have anything else?
No, that was a nice format. I really like it, and I think we will do more of those. So, guys, if you have any ideas, what would you like to discuss? So, me and Anna from different perspectives, maybe agree or disagree on some points, please let us know. And don't forget to like and share with your friends. And we will talk to you next time. See you.
Yeah. See you soon. Bye bye. Have a good day.
Bye bye.